Conversations with Marléne and Pascale. This week, we are talking about coincidences. And is there such a thing? We're going to be having a look at signs and synchronicities and also confirmation bias as well. So we've got so much to talk about. I'm really excited about talking about this one today, Marléne. Before we get into that, let's do a quick introduction. My name is Pascale Lane. I'm a therapeutic confidence and success coach, and I work with female coaches to help them smash through the £10,000 a month barrier and create a wealth and abundance in every area of their life by overcoming their limiting beliefs and really just going all in on themselves. How about you, Marléne?
I'm Marléne Rose Shaw, therapist and coach and self-help author, and I specialise in relationships. I help individual clients have much better relationships with family and friends and co-workers, business associates, and it's all about setting boundaries and stopping people pleasing and really communicating with courage. And I also help couples have much better relationships.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. So, coincidences. Well, I don't think we need to explain what a coincidence is. I think everybody knows what a coincidence is. But maybe we could start off, Marléne, by answering the question, is there any such thing as a coincidence? How does it happen? How does it work?
Personally, I don't believe that there is such a coincidence in the traditional sense of something that just happens to happen. And yet I do find myself using that phrase sometimes. Oh, that's a coincidence, because that's just an old ingrained phrase that I was brought up with. That's in my psyche, in my vocabulary, but I don't believe in coincidences. How about you?
I try to remind myself that there are no such thing as coincidences. I was listening to this incredible book over the summer, which I actually listened to twice, which said there are no such thing as coincidences. So I would say I'm probably about 80-20, if I'm honest. I'm not completely sold. I'm not completely sold, but I have my analytical brain kicks in. You see, this is the problem, and then I start thinking about well, what are the chances? Like the logical brain kicks in and says, like, what are the chances? And also, like, okay, so if we go down kind of like the spiritual path of there's no such thing as coincidences, does every coincidence, let's just call it that for now, does every coincidence always have a meaning? I think that's where I kind of trip myself up. Because if there is a coincidence but it doesn't really have any meaning, then is it just a thing? Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah, because you're looking for meaning in the coincidence as a checkbox of what it is.
Yeah,
that's interesting, because I see it as a signal that we put out, which gets reflected back, so we see more evidence of it. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Okay.
So I see it differently, maybe.
Yeah. Well, then, yeah. I know. So like we're both like massively into spirituality. For anybody who hasn't ever caught one of our videos before, we I know we do the therapeutic stuff, and we both do the woo woo stuff as well. So we kind of mix and match our videos. And so I have had this like massive spiritual awakening. I've always been very spiritual. Like I've always been dialed in, but this summer I got super dialed in. So I have been asking for a lot of signs, and I've been receiving a lot of signs. I always get my confirmations. Like I can honestly say I always get my confirmation, my signs, my signals. But then the analytical brain, the logical brain kicks in. And then I think, well, is that just confirmation bias?
Mm. And I hear you, because I play the game too.
Yeah.
And it is a game we play in our heads, isn't it? I don't think
Yeah.
there is it is this way or it is that way, because we all love magic and we want to see the magic. We're looking for the magic. The game I play is when I ask for signs, which is this thing we call coincidences. I think can have no meaning. It can just be a similar something that is reflected out and reflected back, or it can have a meaning. When I'm looking for meaning and asking for signs, I generally try and make it quite specific. I play the game of making it specific so I can prove to myself that it wasn't just, I didn't just happen to
stumble on it.
Stumble upon this, whatever it was I was looking for. It was really quite specific, so it couldn't have been a coincidence, as that's the vocabulary that comes in. It couldn't just have happened at random. That's maybe a good way to put it.
Yeah.
At random, it's happened because I've actually asked. So what are we talking about? We're talking about some higher force that we're asking to give us evidence of something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I asked for a really specific sign on over the weekend about something, and I saw something, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to zoom in on this picture just to see if that's like if that's really what I think it is, if that's what I've asked for. And I zoomed in, and I was like, I'm quite sure. I'm quite sure. And then I was like, it's just a random, right? It's just a random. It's just a random. And then I said, I want it loud and clear. I want it loud and clear. Show me loud and clear, like it is undeniable, right? And then I went onto TikTok, and I'm not joking. I literally did 2 swipes up, and this thing was so loud and clear. I was like, okay, that's not a coincidence. That's that's really a thing right there, right? Like undeniable, absolutely undeniable. And it put a big smile on my face, and I saved it.
I hear what you're saying, because I also, and it is a game that we play, I think, because we want magic. I ask for something, I get evidence of it, and then I say, yeah, but are you sure? Can you make it even more so, please? And it's like, who am I talking to? Because actually, I also, while I believe in this energy field, I'm also aware that I'm quite a lot in control of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that I am reflecting things back. So if I ask for something, I'm likely to experience it. And earlier, before we started recording, you said, oh, I've been listening to this book. And I said, oh, I've just been looking at my copy of that book. And that's not a book we've ever spoken about ever before.
No.
So there's something about quantum entanglement, isn't there, which don't ask me to delve into, because I make a fool of myself because I don't really understand it. But there's this thing about like attracts like.
Well, it's just that we're all connected. I mean, you wouldn't make
Yeah.
yourself look silly at all. Like you're very well versed on it, and it doesn't need to be. I mean, this is the thing, right? None of it needs to be complicated. It's all pretty straightforward. We're all connected. We're all
Yeah.
vibrations. We're all energy, and so. And you know, you and I are very like you and I are so connected. And it always makes me smile that we not only are, well, almost to be neighbours, right, but that we actually met in a group that is based in New Zealand.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like of all the, is it New Zealand or Australia? It's New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yeah. So like of all of the connections, to have stumbled across each other in New Zealand.
Yes, how strange. And I have a number of friends that I've met in different countries who know my friends from other different countries. And I mean, offline, they know each other offline. They're not just Facebook friends who happen to know each other. They actually know each other across the globe, which is, and that is maybe what we're talking about then is connection. And it's this sort of connection, energy field connection. And we see it in different ways. But tell me about confirmation bias, because I know it's something that you like to explore.
So let me just, without sounding like big-headed, right? I've got a degree and I've got a master's. So, and I would happily do another degree if I didn't have. So I've done 2 dissertations. And I would happily do more degrees if I never had to do another dissertation again in my life, because I absolutely, just they killed me. They absolutely killed me. But we're taught when we do a dissertation that you have to be very aware of confirmation bias. So confirmation bias is, I know you know this, Marlene, but for anybody who doesn't know, confirmation bias is, this is what I think. This is the theory that I am putting forward. I am posing this as a general theory. And now in my dissertation, I'm going to write a balanced argument as to whether I'm right or wrong, or why this might be the case, or what have you. But you have to be very aware of confirmation bias, because we can all prove ourselves right. It doesn't matter how wrong you are. We can all prove ourselves right if we, and I do this, right? I will go, oh, I wonder about this. I'll just Google something, right? And then it will like I vape, right? I'm really embarrassed about it. I don't really tell many people about it unless they know me. And so I did this thing where I'm just like, I'm gonna prove to myself that it's not going to kill me, right? So I'm ignoring all of the Google articles that are telling me it's dangerous, because I'm like, oh, that's not proven. Trying to find the one that tells me that it's okay. And we can all do that. Okay, it's just a really silly example. We can all prove our own theory if we want to. And so that is confirmation bias. So confirmation bias in what we're talking about now would be, I've asked for a sign, I've asked for a synchronicity, and then when that synchronicity comes along, I am just going to say, well, of course it's that, because the angel numbers 137, right, are really significant to me, because 137 is my birthday, 13th of July, and it also means have patience, which is my absolute downfall. Like, I lack patience in absolutely everything that I do. So to be reminded that I need to have patience, when I found out that that was what it meant, because I was seeing it everywhere. I thought, I'm going to have to Google what this means. And it was basically just be bloody patient, Pascale. Just calm down. Now I see it everywhere I go. I see it like 2 or 3 times a day. But now I'm on the lookout for it.
Yes, of course. And your reticular activating system is noticing
So
it.
I'm seeing it now. I see 111, 222, 333, 888, 77. I see the numbers. Now, is that because my spirit guides are with me at every single step of the way? Well, yes, I actually like to think they are. So but the point is that I see it because I am looking for it, consciously or subconsciously.
Yeah.
I'm looking
You're
for it.
filtering it out.
Yeah.
You're filtering out information out.
Yeah. So if I say spirit guides, give me, like, if I see 888 today, then I'm going to take that as a yes. Well, I already know I'm going to see 888 because I see 888 every day. Because the registration plate numbers here in Spain, for some reason, are all angel. Like 50% of the registration plate numbers in Spain are angel numbers. They are all, I can't tell you. When you're like, next time you're over, open your eyes to the cars on the road and you will see how many of them are three or more of the same number. It's just the most bizarre thing ever.
It occurs to me as we have this conversation that the more self-aware we are and the more we educate ourselves, the more we can maybe trust in this information that we notice, because and the more we can distinguish between what we call a coincidence, some random thing, or something that is helpful information, because we're more aware of how we ourselves operate. We're more aware of our own tendency for confirmation bias. So I used to know somebody at one point who, you know, it was, every conversation was, you know, I saw a feather and it was, you know, just after I saw a blue butterfly. And then my friend's daughter's cousin's dog was at the vet, and the vet lived at number 23, which is the same number as mine, you know, and it would be literally like that. And I would be thinking, this is just, you're just looking for some signs, but it was like in everything all the time. It was a lot. And actually that person wasn't, I didn't feel that that person was particularly empowered. And so that person was looking for a sense of security and safety in these signs. Whereas I think if we do the work on ourselves, if we work on our confidence, we work on our sense of our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with others, and we feel empowered, then we know that when we access this field of information, whatever we want to call it, that we're doing it from a perspective of not needing it to look after us, but more seeking wisdom and seeking useful information. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. It does. And also, like, just to kind of like take just pull a thread there that you've given me. Like, it's also about kind of like lack and abundance mindset, isn't it? Because if we're coming at it from a lack mindset, if we're kind of like, and I've been there, so I'm talking, you know, as much about myself as about anybody else. When we're kind of like desperately seeking,
Yes.
it's not the energetics around it are so wrong. But actually, once we go, do you know what, we were talking about detachment last week? Once we detach and actually go, do you know what, I'm not detaching in any way other than I know I'm looked after.
Yes.
I know that I am protected. I know that however hard it feels, this is taking me somewhere that I need to be. And then when we come at it from, oh, I've gone all tingly, Marléne. I've gone all tingly. Then it's different, right? Because then we're just kind of like, we have faith that everything is going to be okay, even if we don't know what that looks like. We know that it's going to be okay. I know it's going to be okay. It's hard at the moment for various reasons, but I know that it's going to be okay.
So I guess what we're both saying then is, if we want to become more intuitive and more able to understand what this coincidence thing is, this random thing is, this confirmation bias, what is real, what is information that we're what is the information that we are receiving from this field of intelligence? What helps us to do that is to actually work on ourselves, so that we feel confident enough in ourselves that we're not relying on it in times of neediness, which I've been there too. You know, gosh, I hope this will work out. If I see the number 3, you know, that sort of thing. So if we're not doing that, and we're just saying, I'm open to this, and I'm not attached to the outcome of it, but I'm open to this field of energy, this intelligence, this thing that I always say, you know, we'll wake up in the morning, we haven't been lying there making ourselves breathe and making our heart beat all night. Something does that for us. And if we, you know, that field of intelligence, if we are confident enough in ourselves, then we are not needing that something to make everything all right for us. We know that we can, you know, manage our lives well, but we also are open to the guidance of that wisdom. So there is something about doing the work on ourselves. It comes back to doing the work on ourselves, even
it's
when
always
woo-woo stuff.
It's always about
Isn't
doing
it?
the work on ourselves.
Yeah.
Always.
And I think the danger is when people get caught up in I'll just live by signs, and I'll just, you know, I'll just, you know, live by this sort of, I have to not do the work on myself, but just let you know, whatever do it for me. It's coming from more of a place of fear, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why. Well, I mean, I've talked about this. Maybe we go into this in a bit more detail next time. But that's why I always say that what one's manifesting always falls short, because actually we can believe, we can manifest, we can visualize, we can do the affirmations, we can do all the things. But actually, if you haven't got that sense of self-worth, if you don't believe you are worthy, if you don't believe you are deserving, if you don't believe you are good enough, then no amount of manifesting and meditating is going to bring that stuff to you, because ultimately you don't have the self concept that will that will align to it.
I know you're very focused on that with your clients. It's so important, isn't it?
So important.
I don't tend to talk about this woo-woo type stuff with my clients until we've gone further down the line, which I guess is the same thing, actually. We do the self-concept stuff first, and then we get into the woo-woo.
Yeah. It's not in my it's not the initial part of our work together. But you know, we attract, well, we attract our people, don't we?
Yeah.
Which is exactly the point.
Yeah,
exactly the point.
That's exactly
it. Fab, absolutely fantastic. I loved that. Well, maybe let's talk about that in another session.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we don't believe in coincidences. It doesn't fall into your lap. So if anybody wants to get in touch with Marléne, how can they get in touch with you, Marléne? How can they do that?
you'll see contact details in the comments of the post below this video, and I offer a free half-hour consultation session where we can have a chat, get to know each other, and work out best way forward for you to have a happy, fulfilled life with great relationships.
Fabulous. And same for me. If anybody wants to get in touch with me or find out any more about the work we can do together, then I've got a call booking link in the comments below, or just drop me a DM and we can chat. Okay. Fabulous. Always a pleasure with you. I'll see you soon.
Bye.